Hi, everybody, and welcome to Conscious Conversations. Today, I am having this very important conversation on anxiety in children, and I am talking to Stuti Mehrotra, who is the founder and director of Linden Montessori. Hi, Stuti.
Hey Smriti, this is a great topic to converse on, so I'm just happy and excited.
So I'm just going to go ahead and talk about what, in my understanding, is anxiety. I'm no brain specialist, but from whatever little bit I know, when we get into the state of anxiety, there is something that's happening in our brain. And I think knowing this is extremely crucial for us to heal from anxiety. So there is a part of the brain which is called the amygdala. This is the emergency center of our brain. So what happens when we or our children take signals from our environment, and that is an overload for the thalamus, the place that in the brain that collects all this data. It starts sending an overload of messages to the amygdala. And the amygdala, the emergency center, goes danger, 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 danger. That's literally what's happening in our brain. And this initiates the activity of the security guard, and that security guard is the sympathetic nervous system. And when this amygdala tells the sympathetic nervous system, come on, do something, I'm in danger. And what does the sympathetic nervous system do? Like in my case, it does anxiety. And the symptoms of anxiety can be many. There are three areas that we focus on. One is the somatic or the physiological level, one is the cognitive level, and one is the behavioral level. So, like, for example, I have shortness of breath, and it's such an irony that I'm talking about anxiety with anxiety, because I do have it every time I talk, and I'm just befriending it, and that's all you can do. So you have the somatic one, which is the shortness of breath in my case. For some people, it could be dizziness, it can be sweating, it can be the shaking of legs, it can be various other things. When these are happening, there is also a thought process that's going on. So I'm thinking something, and that shows up in different ways. Like for some people, it can be avoidance. So these are behavioral ways. So just a small thing about how anxiety happens and how it shows up in our body. But I want to know from you, Stuti, because you are working with children, and how does this show up? Do children really have anxiety? How have you seen it?
Yes, Smriti, so that's a very interesting question. Contrary to what most people would believe, actually, anxiety is very real in children, just like it is in adults. In fact, even infants and toddlers can experience anxiety in terms of, if they're overstimulated or they are overtired, they have not slept well. There are clear physical signs of anxiety. For children, usually they may say, I'm having a headache or a stomach ache. We can see this in their very, very clearly in their eating pattern or sleeping pattern. Their mood swings can reveal it. Sometimes it also may manifest in tantrums. So those are the physical signs which, or attention span may be less. But I would say that, as parents, we need to be like, anxiety or stress spies for the children, where we have to keep an observation to see that is the child, undergoing stress or anxiety. There could be a lot of reasons, the causes of anxiety. It could also be in the genes. It could also be that, because the child has it in the genes, the child is more prone to have anxiety. So there's no real reason, but, it is still there. It could also be learned behavior from an adult. So, many a times when, as an adult, I may be afraid of dark. And, I may tell my child that, I don't want to enter that room because it's dark. Now, this is learned behavior. So the child will get anxious now whenever the child goes in a dark room or a dark place. So this is learned behavior which may cause anxiety. Then, of course, a situation in the family can cause anxiety, right? If there is a dysfunction in terms of a death or, a serious illness. I think right now, COVID is causing so much anxiety in children. Sensationalized reporting by the media, where a child who understands, 4 or 5-year-old also, he or she is seeing these images on the screen, will obviously make them anxious and fearful. I remember a parent, talking to me and saying that, we took our child, and this was just a 3 or 4 year old child, and they took the child to watch this movie, which had a lot of violent scenes. And the mother actually told me that for the next 1 week, the child would actually get up in the night, crying. So that was the impact the child had by seeing those images. Uh, what do you think? Like, according to you, is there perhaps anything else that could cause anxiety?
I think you really summed it up very well. And I would like to reiterate focusing on the present moment. Like this would be more easier for children because they literally dwell in the present moment. And
right.
We are the ones who are taking them to the past and the future.
Planning.
What will you do when you grow up if you don't study now? It's a common thing that we say, right?
What can we do as adults to help our children? There is, of course, no short remedy, right? And as you're saying that you have experienced it and you still experience it, so there is no pill for it. But having said that, what can we really do? How can we help children cope with anxiety?
Yeah. So before I actually talk about this, I want to make it clear that there is something called as clinical anxiety also. We want to understand that because that has to be addressed by a therapist, a doctor, a person who is professionally qualified to do so. What I'm talking about here is the emotional turmoil that we have, and we call that anxiety, right? The way it shows up in our body. So we want to acknowledge that there is these two things, and sometimes we do need medicines and whatever we need to help us. First thing I've learned is to first acknowledge, and this is true for children too, acknowledge and then reassure. But if you say, no, there's nothing wrong, without saying, I understand you're anxious, I understand how scary this can be, it's very important to acknowledge and then reassure. The second thing, the family dynamics plays a very important role in our anxiety and our child's anxiety. If a husband and wife are in constant argument and constant fight, this can cause anxiety in children.
Absolutely.
So that's very crucial in my opinion. Writing about it, talking about it. And I like this one thing in the book, Superpowered. It says, give it a name. Call this anxiety something, and talk to it. The biggest thing that I'm learning still, because you always want to getting rid of anxiety, but you can't get rid of it. Befriend it. Become an observer of the anxiety. And this is very hard for children to do. So how will we help children? By asking them, what are you feeling? Where in the body are you sensing it? What are you thinking at this point? So instead of that, what we do, we attack them on the behavior level and say, why are you behaving like this? What is wrong with you? How many times? So then we are not getting to the root cause. Another thing that is connecting them to their bodies. The other thing is to postpone worry. Like suppose you have a dentist appointment and your child is very anxious. You'll say, can we postpone this worry till 1 hour before we go to the dentist? Till then, you just don't have to worry. Bringing up the certain amount of mindfulness in children, like breath, deep breath is the best. A powerful exhale and a slow inhale is the best thing we can do, because we forget to breathe when we are anxious, and so do children.
Right.
And of course, I'm sure you have some more ideas, but these things are some things which I feel have helped me and would help children too.
Sometimes, Smriti, with younger children, this may be challenging. With older children, of course, when they are more verbal and they communicate to you. But sometimes when you're looking at preschoolers, it is difficult sometimes to make out what is going on in their minds. So we, again, I would give an example from the school that we actually, when we have the calendar activity, almost through the year, we do emotions with children, feelings and emotions. So we have these smileys depicting different emotions, and we label them. And then we encourage children to pick the emotion for the day. So they actually tell you that what are they feeling today? Are they angry? Are they happy? So this itself tells the teacher a lot. And I think for parents, the hugs and kisses and reassuring the child that they are there for them. The support is always there. So that also brings in that stability, the feeling of stability and security. and that would help calm them down. And I would also say, where we don't over schedule our children. It's like one activity after the other. They just need to be. So giving them that time to unwind, to relax, will also bring down anxiety and stress in them. And I think I would also like to add that role modeling. So, like you come back from work, and say if you really had a busy or a stressful day, and you tell your child that, look, I had a very busy day and I would like to go to sleep. I would like to take a nap, or I would like to have a hot cup of tea. So you are just indirectly, telling your child that, look, I am feeling this and I am, dealing with this in a healthy way. I think this could also be a great way of telling the children that how they can cope with similar feelings.
Absolutely. I love that last part which you said, which is such a big thing. And I would just add to that to say, like, for example, when I'm anxious, I tell my family, right now I'm going through this. I'm just going to sit with it. They just respect the space that I need. That's what I do with my daughter too. Not bogging her. Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? That adds to the anxiety when somebody is saying, are you feeling better? Very young children, like you were saying, you can't make out. And that's a good point. You really can't. And sometimes when you say, well, what are you feeling, they don't know what's happening in your head. I don't know. So the little ones, I think the biggest thing is observation, tightness, holding. How are they holding? How is their body? How are they breathing? What's the face like? These are things, which you need to be observant. If you start meditating yourself, and if you sit with your feelings when you feel, then the child knows, okay, I don't know, I'm not feeling just something not okay. I'm going to sit with it. So they don't know what it is, but just sitting with it removes that emotional baggage that is there on them. And you're right about overscheduling. So right. Thank you for bringing that up, because, we do that so much to ourselves. And we do that to our really little, just the ones who are supposed to experience life for what it is. We are jam packing their day. So thank you for bringing that up, Stuti. Do you have anything else to add?
But I would just say to all the parents who are watching this that they really have to tune in to their child. The observation bit and letting them be is so very important.
I just want to read one quote before we go. It says, I love this quote, and it says, when little people are overwhelmed by big emotions, it is our job to share our calm, not their chaos.
Wow.
So this is by L.R. Nost. And I really think self-regulation is a must for the parent. We have to work on skills. You have to know how to self-regulate, because that's what the child needs. But if we scream, then they figure out that when I'm anxious, I just need to burst, become volatile and explosive. We are humans too. We have things arising within us, but we have the capacity to learn how to regulate this. And that's where the power lies. So until we meet again, stay tuned to your children, the frequency, and see how you can bring calm into their chaos. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.